You're trapped in a prison of your own making, but you can't see the bars because they're built from your own excuses, blame, and desperate hope that someone else will save you from yourself. Every morning you wake up in the same disappointing reality, the same mediocre job that slowly kills your soul, the same empty apartment that reflects your empty relationships, the same face in the mirror that you've grown to resent. And every night you fall asleep hoping tomorrow will be different, even though you plan to do nothing differently to make it so. Here's the brutal truth that will destroy every comfortable lie you've been telling yourself. Your life is exactly what you've chosen it to be. Every disappointment, every failure, every moment of loneliness and frustration exists because you created it through your choices, your actions, and your refusal to take responsibility for your own existence. And until you accept this devastating reality, you will remain exactly where you are, trapped, powerless, and slowly dying from the inside out. Most men are addicted to being helpless, because helplessness provides the ultimate excuse for mediocrity. If you can't change your circumstances, then you're not responsible for accepting them. If success is determined by luck, then failure isn't your fault. This addiction is so psychologically comfortable that men will sabotage their own progress to maintain it. They'll quit jobs before getting fired so they can blame the employer. They'll end relationships before being rejected so they can blame incompatibility. Each time you choose helplessness over effort, you strengthen neural pathways that make helplessness your default response. You literally rewire your brain to prefer victimhood over victory. Modern culture has convinced you that salvation comes from outside yourself. The right woman will complete you, the right job will fulfill you, the right amount of money will satisfy you. This lie keeps you in a perpetual state of waiting rather than building. You scan dating apps hoping to find someone who will love you as you are instead of becoming someone worthy of love. You browse job listings hoping to find work that will appreciate your current skills instead of developing skills that create opportunities. The cruel irony is that external salvation only comes to those who don't need it. The man who has built internal completeness attracts relationships naturally. The man who has developed valuable skills gets recruited for better positions. Somewhere in your past, you learned that being a victim generates attention, sympathy, and temporary relief from responsibility. These early experiences taught you that victimhood is profitable. It gets you what you want without requiring effort, growth, or change. Your childhood was traumatic, so you can't form healthy relationships. Your genetics are poor, so you can't be physically attractive. Your education was inadequate, so you can't develop skills. Each explanation provides complete protection from the need to take action. The difference between those who overcome limitations and those who remain trapped isn't circumstances. It's the willingness to take responsibility for improvement despite unfavorable starting conditions. Deep down, you know that taking full responsibility for your life would require admitting some uncomfortable truths about your past choices and current character. If you have the power to create change, then you've been choosing not to use that power. If your problems are solvable, then you've been choosing to maintain them. This realization is so psychologically threatening that you unconsciously sabotage your own progress to avoid confronting it. You start improving your life, make some progress, and then mysteriously lose motivation or create new problems that require your attention. You begin working out consistently, start seeing results, and then injure yourself through poor form or overtraining. You start saving money, build up some emergency funds, and then find an essential purchase that depletes your savings. You begin developing social skills, start making connections, and then say something inappropriate that damages new relationships. These aren't accidents or bad luck. They're unconscious self-sabotage designed to maintain your identity as someone who can't succeed despite trying hard. This allows you to feel good about your effort, while avoiding the responsibility that comes with actual capability. If this resonates and you're ready to stop lying to yourself about why your life isn't working, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. These uncomfortable truths get buried by algorithms that prefer comforting fantasies, so your engagement helps more men discover what they need to hear instead of what they want to hear. Your current situation, however disappointing, is familiar and predictable. You know exactly what to expect from your mediocre job, your empty relationships, your financial struggles, and your social isolation. This predictability feels safer than the uncertainty that comes with pursuing improvement. Change requires venturing into unknown territory where failure is possible, success demands sustained effort, and outcomes aren't guaranteed. Your current failure is controlled, You know its limits and have adapted to its discomforts. But the failure that might come from trying something new feels more threatening because it's unfamiliar. So you choose the familiar misery of your current circumstances over the unfamiliar challenge of pursuing something better. You complain constantly about your situation while rejecting every opportunity to change it, because change requires leaving the psychological comfort zone you've built around your limitations. This is why you'll scroll through self-improvement content for hours without implementing a single suggestion. You enjoy the fantasy of transformation without the risk of actually attempting it. Consuming content about change feels like progress while requiring no effort or vulnerability. Believing that your problems are uniquely difficult or that your circumstances are unusually unfair is narcissism disguised as humility. You're convinced that your struggles are more significant than others, your obstacles more challenging. This narcissistic victimhood allows you to feel special without achieving anything special. Your trauma becomes your identity, your struggles become your personality, and your limitations become your brand. You've probably noticed this in yourself, how you feel slightly disappointed when problems resolve themselves, how you resist suggestions that would actually improve your situation. This investment in your own victimhood is perhaps the greatest obstacle to transformation because it means part of you actively opposes your own success. Resentment is the psychological poison you drink hoping others will suffer. Every moment you spend angry about past injustices or current unfairness is a moment stolen from building your own future. Your resentment towards successful people prevents you from learning from their strategies. Your anger toward attractive people prevents you from developing your own appeal. Your bitterness toward wealthy people prevents you from understanding money. The successful man isn't the one who had the fairest start. He's the one who stopped waiting for fairness and started building despite unfairness. You've probably convinced yourself that you're trying to improve your life because you engage in various activities that feel like progress. You read self-help books, watch motivational videos, attend seminars, or consume endless content about success and improvement. But consuming information isn't the same as implementing strategy, and implementing strategy isn't the same as achieving results. You've confused learning about change with actually changing, thinking about improvement with actually improving, and planning success with actually succeeding. Real transformation requires sustained, strategic action over months and years, not bursts of motivated effort followed by extended periods of excuse-making. It requires developing systems and habits that compound over time, not just trying harder during moments of inspiration. Most men fail because they treat personal development like a hobby instead of a survival necessity. They dabble in improvement when they feel motivated instead of building disciplined consistency, regardless of how they feel. Perhaps the most terrifying truth you must confront is that you're capable of far more than your current circumstances suggest. Deep down, you know you could be more attractive, more successful, more confident, and more capable than you currently are. This knowledge is terrifying because it means your current mediocrity is a choice rather than a limitation. You've probably caught glimpses of this potential during rare moments of genuine effort, times when you actually stuck to a routine and saw results. These moments terrify you because they reveal what's possible when you stop making excuses and start making effort. But instead of building on these glimpses, you sabotage them because success would force you to abandon the comfortable identity you've built around being incapable. You've convinced yourself that successful people possess some innate quality you lack: better genetics, natural charisma, inherited intelligence. This mythology allows you to avoid confronting the reality that success comes primarily from sustained effort, applied strategically over time. The attractive man you envy probably spent years learning about fitness, nutrition, and style, while you were making excuses about genetics. The confident man you observe probably spent years pushing through social anxiety, while you were avoiding social situations entirely. It's psychologically easier to believe that successful people are fundamentally different from you than to accept that they simply make different choices consistently over long periods. Your brain has been hijacked by technology specifically designed to provide instant gratification, while preventing the sustained focus required for meaningful achievement. You've trained your brain to expect constant stimulation and immediate reward, making it virtually impossible to sustain the months or years of consistent effort required for real transformation. This dopamine trap keeps you in a perpetual state of seeking pleasure and avoiding discomfort, which is the exact opposite of what's required for growth. Your addiction to instant gratification has atrophied your capacity for discipline, patience, and persistence. Society has a vested interest in keeping you weak, dependent, and controllable. Strong, self-reliant men are harder to manipulate through advertising, political messaging, and social pressure. So you've been systematically programmed to believe that seeking help is stronger than developing capability, that expressing emotions is more important than controlling them, that accepting yourself as you are is healthier than demanding more from yourself. You've been taught to see masculinity as toxic, ambition as selfish, and competitiveness as unhealthy. This programming has created a generation of men who are physically weak, emotionally fragile, and psychologically confused about their role and purpose. The modern economy depends on your continued consumption, debt, and dependency. The self-help industry makes money from your continued problems, not from solving them. The dating industry profits from your loneliness. The health industry makes money from treating your symptoms, not eliminating causes. Recognizing these economic incentives reveals why so much advice you receive is designed to provide temporary relief rather than permanent solutions. Most systems want you to remain dependent because independence isn't profitable. Every significant improvement in your life will require you to endure substantial discomfort for extended periods before you see meaningful results. Physical transformation requires months of consistent training before visible changes occur. Financial improvement requires years of discipline before substantial wealth accumulates. But you've been conditioned to expect immediate results and to interpret temporary discomfort as evidence that something is wrong. The successful man chooses his suffering consciously rather than accepting it unconsciously. You avoid conscious suffering and therefore experience unconscious suffering. Understanding your situation requires accepting a harsh biological truth. Nature has designed males to be disposable. In evolutionary terms, one successful male can reproduce with multiple females, making most males expendable to the continuation of the species. This biological reality manifests in modern society through the expectation that men prove their worth through achievement, contribution, and utility. You don't matter simply because you exist. You matter because of what you accomplish and provide. This isn't fair, but fairness is a human concept that nature doesn't recognize. The man who accepts this reality stops wasting energy on resentment about unfairness and starts focusing energy on building the value, competence, and achievement that create relevance and respect. The solution to your situation is simultaneously simple and impossibly difficult. Take complete responsibility for every aspect of your life and systematically improve each area through disciplined, consistent action over years. Simple, because the actions required aren't mysterious or complex. Eat properly and exercise consistently to improve your physical condition. Develop valuable skills to improve your career prospects. Study social dynamics to improve your relationships. Learn about money to improve your financial situation. Read philosophy and psychology to improve your mental framework. Impossibly difficult, because these actions require abandoning every comfortable excuse, facing every uncomfortable truth about your current situation, and sustaining effort through months of minimal visible progress before compound effects create significant change. Most men will read this, feel momentarily motivated, maybe attempt one or two changes for a few weeks, and then return to their old patterns while convincing themselves that they tried, but the advice doesn't work. The few men who actually implement these principles consistently over years will experience transformation so dramatic that their past selves will seem like different people. But you'll never discover this unless you're willing to sacrifice your comfortable victimhood for the uncertainty of pursuing your potential. Every moment presents the same fundamental choice. Will you take responsibility for your life and systematically improve it, or will you remain a victim of circumstances you refuse to change? This choice determines everything: your income, your relationships, your health, your happiness, your legacy, and your self-respect. It's the most important decision you'll ever make, and you must make it repeatedly every single day. The path of responsibility is lonely, difficult, and uncertain. It requires sacrificing your victim identity, abandoning your comfortable excuses, and facing the possibility of failure despite maximum effort. The path of victimhood is crowded, easy, and predictable. It allows you to maintain your current identity, keep your familiar excuses, and avoid the risk of discovering your own limitations through serious effort. Most men will choose comfort over growth, blame over accountability, and mediocrity over excellence, because these choices require nothing from them except the willingness to accept disappointment. Understanding your situation requires accepting mathematical realities that modern culture refuses to acknowledge. In any given population, the majority of men will be considered below average in attractiveness, income, status, and desirability. This isn't because of unfairness, it's because of how distributions work. The top 20% of men in any category receive the majority of rewards, attention, and opportunities. The middle 60% receive modest rewards and occasional opportunities. The bottom 20% receive almost nothing regardless of their effort or character. These distributions exist in every competitive arena: sports, business, dating, social status, and wealth creation. The uncomfortable truth is that most men will remain in the middle or bottom categories, not because they're incapable of improvement, but because they're unwilling to make the sustained effort required to reach the top categories. Moving from the bottom 20% to the middle 60% requires consistent effort over months. Moving from the middle 60% to the top 20% requires exceptional effort over years. Moving from the top 20% to the top 5% requires obsessive effort over decades. Most men aren't willing to invest this level of effort because they've been told that everyone deserves equal outcomes regardless of unequal inputs. They expect average effort to produce above-average results, modest investment to create substantial returns, and minimal risk to generate maximum rewards. The mathematics don't work this way. If you want above-average outcomes, you must provide above-average effort. If you want exceptional results, you must make exceptional sacrifices. If you want to be valuable, you must do valuable things consistently over long periods. You've been raised in a culture that simultaneously demands traditional male performance while criticizing traditional male traits. You're expected to be providers without being possessive, leaders without being dominant, confident without being arrogant, successful without being competitive. This impossible standard creates psychological confusion about what kind of man you're supposed to become. Traditional masculinity is labeled toxic, but traditional male responsibilities haven't disappeared. You're still expected to approach women, earn money, take risks, and solve problems, but you're not allowed to develop the psychological traits that make these behaviors natural and effective. The result is a generation of men who are confused about their role, purpose, and identity. You've been neutered psychologically while still being held to traditional performance standards. You're expected to compete and win while being taught that competition and winning are morally problematic. This contradiction keeps you trapped in a state of perpetual self-doubt and social confusion. You can't embrace traditional masculinity because it's culturally condemned, but you can't abandon it because it's still practically necessary for success in most areas of life. The men who succeed in the modern world are those who ignore cultural messaging about masculinity and develop traditional male traits anyway: aggression, competitiveness, dominance, and emotional control, while learning to express these traits in socially acceptable ways. Every hour you spend consuming digital entertainment is an hour stolen from developing real skills, building real relationships, and creating real value. The average man spends multiple hours daily engaged in activities that provide no lasting benefit: social media scrolling, video game playing, pornography consumption, and endless content consumption. This digital drug addiction has destroyed your attention span, motivation, and ability to tolerate discomfort. You've trained your brain to expect constant stimulation and immediate gratification, making it virtually impossible to sustain the focused effort required for meaningful achievement. Previous generations of men had no choice but to develop real skills and build real relationships because digital alternatives didn't exist. They learned to tolerate boredom, pursue long-term goals, and find satisfaction in gradual progress because instant gratification wasn't available. You have access to unlimited digital stimulation that provides artificial satisfaction without requiring any actual accomplishment. Why struggle through learning a difficult skill when you can feel competent playing video games? Why risk rejection approaching women when pornography provides sexual satisfaction without emotional risk? Why build real social connections when social media provides the illusion of community without the challenges of actual relationships? This technological environment has created unprecedented levels of male mediocrity because it allows you to satisfy your psychological needs artificially without developing the capabilities that create genuine satisfaction and success. Your current approach to life guarantees failure, and part of you prefers this certainty to the uncertainty that comes with genuine effort. If you don't really try, then failure doesn't reflect your actual capabilities. If you half-heartedly attempt improvement, then poor results don't indicate fundamental limitations. This psychological safety net allows you to maintain the fantasy that you could succeed if you really applied yourself while never risking the discovery that maximum effort might not be enough. You preserve your ego by never fully engaging with your potential. The man who gives 100% effort and fails must confront the possibility that his best isn't good enough. The man who gives 50% effort and fails can always tell himself that he would have succeeded if he had tried harder. This protection mechanism keeps you trapped in mediocrity, because it prevents you from ever discovering what you're actually capable of achieving. You live in a perpetual state of unrealized potential, because realizing your potential would require risking the discovery of your limitations. Every day you choose comfort over discipline, entertainment over education, and excuses over effort. You strengthen neural pathways that make these choices more automatic and harder to change. Your brain literally rewires itself to prefer the path of least resistance. These daily choices seem insignificant individually, but compound into massive differences over months and years. The man who reads for 30 minutes daily will consume over 100 books in a decade. The man who exercises consistently will transform his physical appearance and capabilities. The man who practices social skills regularly will develop natural confidence and charisma. But you choose immediate gratification over long-term improvement, telling yourself that you'll start tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. Each day of delay makes starting harder because your habits become more entrenched and your capacity for discipline atrophies. The successful man isn't someone who makes perfect choices. He's someone who makes slightly better choices consistently over long periods and allows compound effects to create dramatic transformations. The brutal truth is that you'll probably never implement any of this advice. You'll continue reading self-improvement content while avoiding self-improvement action. You'll keep complaining about your circumstances while rejecting every opportunity to change them. You'll remain trapped in the same patterns that created your current situation because those patterns are familiar and therefore feel safe. Change requires admitting that your past choices created your current reality, that your comfortable excuses are lies, and that your victim identity is a choice rather than a circumstance. These admissions are so psychologically threatening that most men will choose a lifetime of mediocrity over a few years of uncomfortable growth. You'll probably finish reading this, feel a brief surge of motivation, maybe save it to read again later, and then return to scrolling through content that makes you feel better about your situation without requiring anything from you. And that's fine. The world needs people who remain small, so that those who choose to grow can shine by comparison. Your mediocrity makes other men's excellence more visible. Your excuses make other men's discipline more valuable. Your victimhood makes other men's responsibility more attractive. But if there's any part of you that's tired of living a life that disappoints you, tired of making excuses for circumstances you could change, tired of being a victim of your own choices, then you have one option. Stop reading about change and start implementing it. Stop looking for more information and start using the information you already have. Stop waiting for perfect conditions and start working with current conditions. Stop hoping someone will save you and start saving yourself. The cavalry isn't coming. You are the cavalry. The question is, will you mount up or will you remain on foot watching other men ride toward the lives you convinced yourself you couldn't have? Your life is exactly what you've chosen it to be, and it will remain exactly what you choose it to be for as long as you live. The only question is whether you'll choose consciously or by default, actively or passively, with courage or with fear. The choice, like everything else in your life, is entirely yours. And you'll make it through your actions over the next few days, weeks, and months, not through your intentions, your plans, or your momentary motivation. What you do next will reveal what you actually want more than what you say you want, and what you actually want will determine what you actually get. Choose wisely, or don't choose at all. But stop pretending that your circumstances are anyone's responsibility except your own.